Thank you, Skip, and good morning, everyone. I'm very excited to be here to talk about how our members are taking data, they're turning it into insights, and then from there turning it into actions that are making improvements in their libraries. So let's start with the metadata that we have today. Cooperatively built library metadata is the common thread that runs through all of OCLC services. And when we think about metadata in this sense, and thinking about it through the lens of big data, it creates a whole new set of opportunities for ourselves and for our libraries, which is very exciting. OCLC was founded in 1967, and we're looking here at a card catalog, to essentially automate the production of card catalogs and simplify the cataloging activities of libraries. No one at that time would have ever imagined the potential for data and the new information that could become from a large compilation of data like this. You think about today, how many libraries are contributing? Thousands and thousands of libraries are contributing records. We have over 365 million records with 2.2 billion holdings set against that. Just think about all of the information that could be harnessed from that if we look at it in the right way. Now, going back to the card catalog, you may have heard the news this year that OCLC printed its last card catalog, and it's true. And I think it's a good metaphor of how libraries need to move from a local, disconnected metadata effort into a world where all of our data can connect and work together. And WorldCat is a great example of that. What started largely as the representative collection of printed works has expanded with the addition of new types of data. You think not only about your print holdings, you can think about the digital objects in those collections, you can think about your e-resources, you can think about journal articles, you can think about information about your library, you can think about location information, you can think about publisher information, and there's just more and more of that. Today, collecting and storing this data is done simply to complete actions related to library workflows. But it's more than that. We're finding libraries using the data in surprising new ways, uncovering important insights, taking action. And I'd like to share with you some of these unique uses that will hopefully give you ideas to ignite new actions at your library. The first example that I have and I'd like to share with you is from Viva, the Virtual Library of Virginia. Viva began working with WorldCat data back in 2013. And the goal of that project was to better understand the combined print collections of their member institutions. The project started by examining the holdings of 12 representative member libraries. They used data to identify patterns of local strengths, widely held publishers, usage and overlap in their print collections. And from this, Viva not only determined which titles they shared and which titles were candidates for deselection from their collections, but they built a proactive development plan for electronic collections. This meant that all of their member libraries could take advantage of the deep subject-specific collections in the group. They could find out where those strengths are. They could look at their own collections and say, I have a gap in a particular subject area. Based upon that gap, then they could identify key e-resource packages, key publishers they want to work with, and create a long-term strategy for future collaborative collection development efforts. And all of this was built on data. It was also so easy to use that all of their members could benefit from the project. So we see this not only at Viva, but several other libraries throughout the world that are trying to do these projects, and I think this is a wave of the future, and OCLC is working on more services in this area to help make this even easier for our libraries. The next area I want to talk about student outcomes. It leverages authentication data in new ways, providing actionable insights on the use of online resources. Nevada State College used data from Easy Proxy logs to analyze student usage patterns and predict their success. Now, when we traditionally think about authentication data, a lot of times we're just looking at how often is something used. Sometimes we don't even look at it at all. But what they did was very creative. And they decided to tie this data to NSC's mandate to directly connect the library to the institution's predictive analysis framework. And what this analysis framework did was measure and predict student success, showing per-user evaluations and how resource use improved their success. So how did they do this? Well, they started with the Easy Proxy logs, And the library could see from that unique user identifiers alongside of data about the use of the online collections. So then they partnered with the personnel at their Office of Institutional Research, and they matched each of these unique user identifiers with relevant student data to create a picture of how the library was using these resources. And they did this not at an individual level, even though it was tied there, but they brought it together based on user demographics. And it showed the overall retrievals and search counts related to things such as specific disciplines, where the student was in the course year, all those kinds of different metrics. The data they got answered key questions like, is a resource core or is it supplemental to student success? What are the characteristics of users using a particular resource? Are there patterns of use that we can leverage for other services? It's just another example of data being generated from library workflows that can be used and shared in new ways to help increase the value of the library in the community. Now, let's see how an OCLC member is leading the way using library linked data. Linked data is changing how we think about everything. At OCLC, we're particularly looking at how it's going to change library cataloging workflows and discovery workflows. Here we have an example of linked data being used to help a library better serve its mission. La Trobe University in Melbourne, Australia, is using linked data identifiers from ISNI, the International Standard Name Identifier, hosted by OCLC, to track where its research, publications, and content are being used. As many of you know, reporting the impact of research outputs from humanities faculty is a very challenging task. Creative works, like art exhibitions, poems, books, dance performances, are not the things that are captured very often in third-party citation databases. La Trobe University took the ISNI identifiers to connect and measure all of the outputs that had been cataloged by museums, libraries, and agencies. And by being able to accurately gauge the use of the faculty work in the humanities, helped them attract more federal funding and assisted them in benchmarking their efforts. Jeff Payne from La Trobe said, being able to provide researcher profiles in a way that is automatically updated is very attractive to academics. And it's also attractive to the university because rather than having a static research profile that goes out of date, it can be automatically updated. So staying on the topic of linked data, I'd like to now turn internally here and talk a little bit about what we're doing at OCLC with linked data. Many of you may have heard about our most recent WorldCat Person Entities pilot, and I'm sorry this is a little bit hard to read, but I'll talk you through what we're doing here. We're currently working with 11 libraries across the globe to see what kinds of applications and services can be built around linked data that connects many different name authorities. OCLC's research department has also been doing some work with this and have created 2 APIs, one that matches an entity from a known authority file to all other participating authority files, and a second API that uses text string to create a match. So what I want to do is show you something that's a much more futuristic service and mashes these 2 APIs together, and we'll show you how this works. So what you're seeing here is a potentially new search screen, and I know it's a little bit hard, but in the upper left-hand corner, there's a search box, and someone can begin typing in a person's name. And as the letters start appearing, what's going to happen is, as they add more letters, more names that are closer to that match will appear. So as we go forward, we'll do another one, and we're looking for Janet, and then we're looking at Janet Smith, and this is the right person that we want to look at. So we click on her name, and this is for someone, again, who's like an undergraduate user who may not have any experience or just want some background information on this person. And automatically, let's go here, up pops a knowledge card about Janet Smith. And as you can see, from this, all of this information was created dynamically and on the fly because we had that piece of linked data. That's the only piece of information we had. And yet what you're seeing here is a very robust information coming from Wikidata. So you can see there's author info, that she's an author. You can see her birth and her death date. We're going to DBpedia, and we're pulling forward background biographical information on her. And if any of this changed at any one of those sites, it would automatically be changed on the knowledge card. So this is a very, very active way for us to create discovery for our end users. If you continue to scroll down in this entry, you're going to see a series of links. And these will take you out to all of the other authority files as well. And so, for example, if you wanted to know more about what the Library of Congress might have on Janet Smith, it would be there. The same for Viva, and the same for DBpedia. So that's the kind of thing that you can get if you go ahead and click on this kind of information. So here we have Library of Congress, DBpedia, and Viva. So the last thing that I want to talk to you about is our commitment to help our members leverage data to feed insights into action. And one of these other ways is through what we're doing with our WMS service. This summer, we launched our WorldShare Reports and Report Designer. These are tools that help you make decisions based on data generated within your library, providing insight about how your library is being used. And some of the initial reports we've created help you answer questions like, how much does an e-collection that I'm considering licensing overlap with my existing collections? You all have very tough decisions to make around how you're going to spend your budget. Making sure that that new e-resource that you're going to bring in is going to add new value to your library is critically important. And tools and reports like we have in this service will help you do that. Another example is which collections have the highest percentage of titles with zero usage. So it may be a situation where you need to get rid of a collection, unfortunately, and this would help you make that decision. Or another question that can be answered with these reports is, what's the average cost of materials year over year by format? So our intent is with these kind of reports and these tools that they're going to help you answer those daily questions that come to you, as well as help you build out your year-end reports for perhaps a budget review, or set your strategic goals for the future, because you're going to have data that's going to help you drive those decisions. And that's where we see us continuing to this is a first step that we're taking with these reports and Report Designer, but I see a whole future of things coming that are going to help you better manage the resources in your library. So essentially, these are all the kinds of results we want for our members. We want to help you move from data to insight to action. And we're committed to developing the new products and services which will move our members in this new direction.